an evil person. Now, what happens here is that Kathy wants Edgar to confront Heathcliff. In a way, she wants Edgar to confront Heathcliff because she wants him to see that you can also be a masculine, strong person, not that soft. The way, if you remember when Nellie like lifted the candle and we saw that we read the description of Edgar, graceful, amiable, thoughtful features, unlike compared with Edgar. So this is the point of the whole confrontation, or of her closing the door and throwing the key into the fire, because she wanted Heathcliff also to see that I chose well. I chose a very masculine. I did not choose a suckling rabbit or a lamb. No, I chose a good person. I chose a very manly, masculine man. So Heathcliff tells Catherine, Kathy, this lamb of yours threatens like a bull. It is a danger of splitting its skull against my knuckles. By God, I am morally sorry that you are not worth knocking down. This is also in the graphic novel. Your lamb sounds like a bull. Mr. Linton, I am sorry that you are not worth knocking down. Now, what does here Edgar want? Now, all of Edgar wants, and if you can also look at the way he addresses Heathcliff. Yes, there is social discrimination. Yes, there is in a way, lots of bad words used to describe Heathcliff. But he is what? He is the voice of reason. He is the voice of logic. He wants things to be settled. He wants things to be put into their right place. So, sir, you are not wanted here. Please leave immediately and do not return to this house. Now, what does Catherine do? She tells him, Heathcliff would as soon lift a finger on you as a king would march his army against a colony of mice, which means what? You are a mouse. Cheer up, Edgar. You shall not be hurt. Your type is not a lamb. You're not a lamb. You are worse than a lamb. What are you, Edgar? You are a suckling leveret. You are a tiny young rabbit, or a leveret that is what? That sucks on a milk that is always like weak. He would be a prey to every predator. This is the point here. Now, this is what? This is in a way mocking. This is in a way degrading her own husband, which is not acceptable. Why? Because she is in a suffering position between Edgar and Heathcliff, again with the love triangle. I wish you joy of the milk-blooded coward, Kathy. I compliment you on your taste. And that is the slavering, shivering thing you prefer to me. Is this what you prefer to me? How would you prefer such a person to me, Catherine? Now, Heathcliff walked across the room. He pushed Edgar's chair. This one, yes. He pushed Edgar's chair with his foot. Suddenly, what did Edgar do? Notice or put in your mind that truly Edgar did not want to fight Heathcliff. He just wanted to bring the guards, the servants, and they would take Heathcliff outside. Because again, he is the voice of reason. He is the voice of logic. He is the super ego. He is like the conscious that wants you to, or drives you to the right path. He knows the morals, the ethics of the society. That is why he is doing this. Suddenly, Edgar jumped up and he hits Heathcliff with throat with his fist. Heathcliff fell against the wall. He starts to cough. Edgar ran out of the back door into the garden. He called the servants. Now, what does Catherine here do? She tells Heathcliff to leave quickly, though he did not want to go. He wanted to stay. He wanted to hit Edgar, to beat Edgar too. Go away, go now, she tells him, because she says, I would rather see Edgar at bay than you. And then she tells him he will be back soon with all the servants. Heathcliff broke open the locked door and he left the house. as Edgar came back with the servant. Now, what happens here later on, if you see the picture, which is so much true, it's as if Catherine here is in a dilemma between Edgar and Heathcliff. She cannot choose. Edgar here, he tells her, "You must choose." Now, Kathy made Nellie Dean go upstairs with her. She tells Nellie, "I feel terrible, Nellie. I have done nothing wrong," which is not true. This is Isabella's fault because she has fallen in love with Heathcliff. This is on page 142, 143. She has fallen in love with Heathcliff, and it is Edgar's fault because he hates Heathcliff. She said, now, she says also, "I cannot have Heathcliff as my friend," because this is true. You're a married woman, you cannot have that person as your friend. And she says Edgar is mean and jealous. So what will she do on page 143? "I will try to break their hearts by breaking my own." I will try to break Heathcliff's heart and Edgar's heart. Now she is the person that is breaking the peace inside the house. "You must tell Edgar how upset, how angry I am. Edgar knows that it is dangerous to let me get angry." So she also tells her, "The doctor said that I could become very ill if people upset me or if people make me angry." Now, when we look at this, according to Nellie Dean, this is what Nellie Dean thought. On page 143 and 144, she says Kathy was very selfish. She was so cruel. She was planning to use her fits of anger to frighten Edgar, to tell him, "I am ill. I am not well." Now, we do not know. Look at page 142. "I shall get wild. And Nellie, say to Edgar, if you see him again tonight, that I am in danger of being seriously ill, and I wish it may prove true. I wish it is true that I am sick." Now, when a person cannot balance between the thing that he desperately wants and the thing that he must accept reality, the world, and he must adopt and adjust and start to accept, "Oh, I will have that thing even if I don't want to." What becomes of a person? They start to be mentally ill. This is the point with Catherine. If you remember, I told you Sigmund Freud said if you cannot balance between the two, it will lead later on to a mental illness. Now, Catherine, according to Nellie did not believe that she was going to be very ill, which I do not believe to be true, to be honest, because in chapter 12 and at the end of chapter 11, I somewhat doubted whether this is true, that Nellie Dean did not believe, and I've always doubted this point, whether Nellie did not believe that Catherine was going to be ill. And even if you notice the way she talks to Edgar in chapter 12, you can see that there is a form, or there is a sense of contradiction. Do you remember the article I told you, or the essay that was written in 1950 something about this controversial idea? Nellie Dean is the true villain of the story. Nellie Dean is the villain of the story. It's yes, Hindley, Heathcliff, but we have another villain inside the novel, or in the novel, who is Nellie Dean. Now here she says, "Nellie, I did not tell Edgar what Kathy had said about making herself ill. I did not want to frighten him. Kathy locked the door and she would not let her in. She would not eat, she would not drink for 3 days. Why? Because she cannot make between choosing Edgar or Heathcliff." Here, Edgar tells her, "Will you give up Heathcliff hereafter? Or will you give me up?" Which is it true? It is impossible for you to be my friend and his at the same time. Now, notice when he says the word friend, it is not truly a friend, no. Will you be with him or will you be with me? Will you spend more time with him or me? Because I am your husband. and I absolutely require to know which you choose. What does she say here? On page 144, she says, I require to be alone. I do not want to be around you because your cold blood cannot be worked into a fever. Your veins are full of ice water and mine are boiling. The sight of such illness makes them dance. What is this? Now, do you remember frost and fire? When I am with a frosty person, according to Catherine here, Edgar is what? His blood is not fiery. He is cold. He is a frosty. He's that type of a frost person. He does not have feelings. He does not know what is love, what are emotions, and all of these things. And I told you, emotions are extremely important for Heathcliff and Catherine. So she tells him, my blood boils at this sight. My blood boils at the sight of seeing you being so frost. It is true in a way. When you let's imagine it for a second. When you're next to your boyfriend, girlfriend, next to your friend, female friend, male friend, and you see they do not care. They do not react to you in the way that you would want them to react. What would you say? You're being cold. You're being frosty. You're not being an emotional or like a caring person. This is what is to her, because in chapter 12, she also tells Naledi, no one loves me. And I expected everyone, or I thought that everyone loved me. Okay. Now, what happens here is that the master, he followed us to the parlor and spoke. He was not angry, but he was sad. I must have an answer, as we said. I will give you up, or will you give up Heathcliff, or will you give me up? You cannot have both. And then she tells him, do not question me, leave me alone. I can hardly stand. Edgar, leave me. She rushed from the room. I followed, but she locked the door against me. Now, here we have on page, which page? I believe on page 142, Naladine describes the state of Catherine. She says, she rang the bell till it broke with a twang, and I entered leisurely. It was enough to try the temper of a saint, such senseless, wicked rages, which means what? She was angry. She was like fire, because she was, what happened before. He told Nali to fetch water, and she had no breath. She couldn't breathe. She was like as if she was suffocating. And even her lips, they started to bleed because she was what? She was grinding her teeth. She was eating her nails. Now, again, with this idea, when you cannot have what you want, and you must accept, you must adjust to the reality that you do not want to adjust to, you become tormented. You become sick. So Catherine here, she did not appear for breakfast the next morning. Naladine kept knocking at the door. She tells her, shall I bring you your breakfast? And to which Catherine says no, she doesn't want anything. And for 3 days, Catherine remained locked in her room, where she didn't want anything, where Miss Isabella, she mopped about the grounds, and Linton shut himself to the books that he never, according to Nellie, opened. On the 3rd day, this is in chapter 12, we will explain that too, Catherine asked for food and for water. Now, here the point is the anorexia, the eating disorder. This is one of the things that when you are mentally tired, when you are not feeling well, there are some people, two kinds of people. Some people start to eat so much, And some people, what? They start to starve themselves. And this is what is happening with Catherine. She starved herself because in starving herself, she thought that this is a way of showing, at first, of showing everyone that I am not well. But then later on, it is true. She started to be a mad person.